from the Built Ford Tough studio at FedEx Forum, it's the Gary Parrish Show, presented by Ortho South on YouTube at Grind City Media and the official Grind City Media app. Now, here's your host, Gary Parrish.
All right, I'm here. My name is Gary Parrish. I'm speaking to you from the Built Ford Tough studio, FedEx Forum, downtown Memphis. Bennett Doyle right there producing the program. Glad he's with me. Glad you're with me. Hope you're getting through the day best you can. And I hope you didn't waste much time worrying about those headlines connected to Ja Morant and a possible trade, because Zach Kleiman, he buried those yesterday, not long after we got done with this show. Drew Hill, Daily Memphian, got in touch with him, and a statement was delivered putting everything to rest. We'll talk about it momentarily. First, though, quickly, let me set today's schedule for you. In the next segment, about 20 minutes, Mike Wallace is going to join me, senior editor, Grind City Media. As you know, Grizzlies regular season gets started tonight in Indianapolis. Restarted tonight in Indianapolis. Mike Wallace is there in downtown Indy. We'll catch up with him. We're going to do it in about 20 minutes. When I finish talking to Mike, take a break, come back, do 5 more things you need to know, at which point we're going to discuss 5 previously undiscussed stories. Among them, Drew Hill had multiple newsworthy
Drew went
tweets.
off yesterday.
Drew went off over the past 24 hours. He had the Zach Kleiman tweet. It's not the only newsworthy tweet that he had. Also had one connected to Tiger basketball. We flipped a Quadra 2 win into a Quadra 1 win.
Let's go.
It's official from the NCAA. I'll give you the details in about 40 minutes. Court of Gold continues to trend on Netflix. I got home. I'm here, by the way. I'm in Memphis, actually. It's good to be here.
How about that, man?
It's nice to be here.
I don't even know what to do.
I do feel different.
I don't know what to do with my hands.
This is the first time that I have done this show on a proper night's sleep in a while, so I don't even feel like the same. I feel pretty good right now, if you don't mind me saying. We decided as a family to just start the new Netflix documentary on USA Basketball last night, and it held my family's attention.
Okay.
It was interesting. 6 parts. We're not through with all of it, but we got through like the first 3. We invested in Netflix basketball documentaries last night. I'll tell you what I thought. We'll do that a little later on in the show. The championship game of the 4 Nations face-off set for tonight in Boston should be intense. Tell you what tickets are going for. We'll do that in just a bit. The Wisconsin football coach got a weird contract extension yesterday that served as a reminder of how college athletics just doesn't work like the real world sometimes. Bizarre. Not unusual that this type of thing happens in college athletics, but just bizarre that it does. I'll fill you in. We'll do that a little later on in the show. And congrats to John Doyle.
Let's go.
And everybody connected to the Rock and Soul Museum. It was, on Wednesday, named one of the 10 best music museums in the United States of America. It's right there, Bennett.
It's right downstairs.
It's right down
below
there.
us.
We're going to celebrate everything. We're going to do it during a segment we call 5 More Things You Need to Know. Then we will eventually do GP's Carryout, and we'll call it a day. So that's the rundown. We got a lot to get to. But I did want to start with your Memphis Grizzlies, because Grizz GM Zach Kleiman took a blowtorch to the Ja Morant rumors on Wednesday afternoon, not long after we wrapped this show. The tweet came from the Daily Memphian's Drew Hill. It was at exactly 12:43 p.m. He had reached out to Zach in an attempt to get a response to speculation that the franchise might look to move on from Ja Morant following the season. This, of course, connected to the Ringers' Howard Beck, saying that, he was making a round of calls and talking to a front office member. And Howard Beck said an NBA front office member told him, hey, listen, just keep your eye on Memphis. Keep your eye on Ja Morant, because I wouldn't be surprised. Just keep an eye on what's going on down there in Memphis. I could see them maybe moving on from Ja in the offseason. Best I can tell, Drew Hill reached out to Zach saying, hey, would you respond to this? Do you have a response? And Zach, it seems, said, yeah, buddy, I'll respond. And here's what he said, quote, I can't blame other executives for fantasizing about us trading Ja, but it's just that. Fantasy. We are not trading Ja. Continue to underestimate Ja, this team, and this city, and we will let our performance on the floor speak for itself. I'm not going to give this nonsense further oxygen and look forward to getting back to basketball. End quote. Your thoughts, Big Bet Bennett.
Okay, so my first thing would be, I don't think he even had to because it wasn't really. It was really just people talking, and you saw some like aggregated tweets saying report the Grizzlies might move on. It was never really a report of any kind. It was just internet fodder, right?
It was just a poor example of how poorly the internet works sometime in the year 2025. And I'll walk you through it in a second, but continue your thought.
Yeah, so my first reaction would be, well, he probably didn't really have to say anything. However, the Luka Doncic trade happened, right? So I think that because of that and how massive that got and just took the whole NBA world by surprise, I think I totally understand why he said something. I totally get it. Just because you want to put that to bed, even rumblings, you want to put that to bed immediately.
I think so.
Yeah.
And I like that he did it. And furthermore, I like the way that he did do it. So if the question is, how did we get here? Let me walk you through that real quick. Because you're right. It wasn't really a report. It gets twisted into there's a report, but it's not really a report. Sometimes it's interesting to see, like, when something first enters your space. Okay, this is how it's presented to me. Now let's trace it back to its foundation. How did we get here? And so the truth is, I think it was a couple of days ago where this started just sort of popping off on Twitter, and it was tied to something somebody said, not even something somebody reported. It was just something somebody said on a podcast.
Right.
The somebody, Howard Beck, who worked for The Ringer. And to be clear, nothing I'm about to say should be considered a shot at Howard Beck. He's a reputable and accomplished NBA reporter. He was just talking on a podcast, same way we're talking right now. The same way I talk on the Eye on College Basketball podcast, 3 times a week. And as I was thinking through it, like this happens to me all the time, us on the Eye on College Basketball podcast all the time. I don't say things like that strictly but to avoid stuff like that. But it does happen where you're just sort of talking and then it gets aggregated. And next thing you know, Gary Parrish said is an actual headline in newspapers in various parts of the country. So imagine if I went on the Eye on College Basketball podcast tomorrow, and at some point in it, I said, I'm talking to Matt Norlander, and I say, hey, listen, man, I'm just calling around talking to other Big 12 coaches, and they're all saying, hey, listen, Bill Self's only 62 years old, and he's got multiple national championships, and he's had back-to-back preseason number 1 teams. But he also had a heart procedure 2 years ago, and obviously these 2 teams that were both preseason number 1 have been wildly disappointing. He is going through the worst 2 years of his entire Kansas career right now, back-to-back. And so when I'm talking to other Big 12 coaches, like, one of the things I'm hearing, people are telling me is like, just keep an eye on Bill, because when this season's over, he could hang it up. I want to be clear. I'm not saying that. I'm not hearing that. I'm just saying I could theoretically say something like that on a podcast tomorrow. And if imagine by tomorrow night that had been turned into Gary Parrish's reporting that Bill Self might retire at the end of the season. Because that is what happened here.
Yeah.
That is how we got to the Grizzlies general manager releasing a statement to the Daily Memphian about Ja Morant. It was nothing more than what I just explained. Just take Bill Self out of it and put Ja Morant in it, and that's what it was. The conversation, even according to Howard Beck, is I'm talking to executives and front offices all over the league, just doing a round of calls. So what do you think? Who's the big name gonna? How are those conversations go? And he said, just when there's one person, not even 5 people, one person said, keep an eye on Ja Morant. Wouldn't be surprised if they do something down in Memphis with Ja Morant. And next thing you know, it gets twisted into everything it got twisted into. It wasn't an actual report. It was just somebody saying, I wouldn't be surprised if the Grizzlies think about moving off of Ja Morant. Like, you could have also said, I wouldn't be surprised if it rains on Sunday. What does that even mean? And so it gets turned into this thing. And frankly, and I talked with Vernon about this yesterday, I didn't know what to do with it. Because on one hand, I see Grizzlies fans talking about it.
Sure.
I've got Grizzlies fans texting me about it. GP, what do you think about this? On the other hand, it's nothing. And I never believed it was going to be anything.
No, me either. It gets turned into something because you get like these aggregator accounts that put like in big report.
Well, then you know what happens, and then everybody, then you. This is the way
it's a spiral.
This is the way our business works. It takes one person. I'll just inside baseball stuff. This is the way this stuff works. We have a Slack channel at CBS Sports, college basketball, right? And we're all in there. And constantly links are getting dropped in there. Hey, do we need to do something with this? Did you see this? So-and-so's hurt. So-and-so got an extension. Did you see this? Did you hear about this? So here's what happens. Howard Beck says this into a microphone. And you ready for this? I bet you Howard Beck had no idea it was going to turn into this.
No, they're doing a podcast.
He's just talking.
Right.
He was probably on 2.5 hours sleep just talking the same way I'm sometimes talking.
Right.
He had no idea it was going to turn into this. Because if he did, you know what he would have done? He would have wrote it. He would have reported it. He would have said, sources have told the Ringer that the Grizzlies could look to move on from Ja Morant. It would have been an actual story that he reported. He was just talking. He had no idea it was going to turn into this. So it turns into, he says it, and one person hears it and goes, oh, that's interesting. Howard Beck from the Ringer says the Grizzlies could... then puts it in Slack. Hey, I was just listening to this podcast. Howard Beck said the Grizzlies might move on from Ja Morant. Do we want a headline on that? Sure, give it to me. That'll get some page views. So then it's the Ringer's Howard Beck says he would. It starts just like that. Says he wouldn't be surprised if the Grizzlies move on from Ja Morant this offseason. So then now that's up on the internet somewhere. Well, somebody else who works for another organization sees that, is like, all right, I guess this is a thing. Do we need that? Well, I guess if USA Today's got it as a headline, I guess we should get it as a headline over here. Next thing you know, it's a headline at 2 different places. Now it's a headline at 7 different places. Now you Google Ja Morant, and you know what pops up? Nothing but trade speculation.
Right.
Nothing. The dunks don't pop up anymore. The Wemby stuff don't pop up anymore. You Google Ja Morant this time yesterday, it's nothing but trade stuff. That's how this happens.
Yeah.
So then Zach is compelled to respond to it. And I don't want to speak for him, but I assume for the exact same reasons you've already suggested. When you have something out there like this attached to your franchise point guard, and you know there's just no chance of you actually doing that. Because remember what Howard Beck said, not a report, but it was this offseason. If you know there's just no chance. We have a 25-year-old superstar under contract for multiple years. I ain't saying we ain't going to be married to Ja Morant for the next 15 years, but he ain't getting moved this offseason. If you know there's actually no chance of that, kill it. Kill it. Strongly. Because you don't want it swirling in his head.
No.
Because as nothing as it was, it still reaches him. And I don't care what you tell him privately. Unless somebody says something publicly, you don't know how to feel about that. I want to be clear before I even start making these comparisons. I don't make them because I think of myself this way. I only make them to try to put them in real world terms. I'm not important enough for anybody to care about. But if I were listening to a podcast today, a sports media podcast, and just randomly one of the sports media people was like, and just like, if you care about college basketball coverage, keep an eye on Gary Parrish over at CBS Sports. I'm hearing that they might move on from him, after the offseason. You've probably seen him. He ain't getting no younger. That would bother me, whether it was true or not. It would get in here somewhere, and I'd be like, okay, who are they talking to that said that? Why do they think that? And then if my bosses didn't say anything to me about it, I'd be like, well, maybe they are looking to move. I mean, are they getting tired of flying me back and forth to New York every week? Do they think it's just not worth it? Could they not find somebody that lives a 30-minute car ride away to talk about KenPom on TV all this stuff would just, even if it was nothing, if it's something, it's in your head. The problem is, even if it's nothing, it's also in your head. So I thought Zach was smart here. Kill it.
Yep, I agree.
Kill it. We got 28 games left in this thing starting tonight. You're alone in second in the West right now. Status report looking pretty good. Oh
my God, it looks good.
We don't need no distractions. So one day before we restart this thing, let's go ahead and kill it. Just kill it. And then also kill it, not in a way that just buries it and alleviates the conversation from Ja's head. It's a way that also serves as a rallying cry for your fans. There's nothing Memphians and Memphis fans and Grizzlies fans love to hear more than, don't keep underestimating us. Keep doubting us. Keep acting like you don't believe we can do what we're doing here. Keep acting like you think a franchise point guard's got to be shipped out of this small market. I know he didn't say all those words, but it was the same sort of sentiment. It was the us versus them type of sentiment, which people enjoy.
Yep.
You saw that quote?
I like it.
I like it. Everybody liked it. So it worked perfectly. You'd rather not have to release a statement responding to a random throwaway thought from an NBA reporter about your franchise point guard. You'd rather not even have to address that. But given that it happened, I don't think he could have addressed it any better.
Right.
Any more forcibly and better. It worked. And if you're Ja Morant, again, I don't want to speak for Ja any more than I want to speak for Zach. But if I were Ja Morant, I'd be real appreciative of that. I'd be real appreciative of hearing my boss. Because, like, you did just watch another 25-year-old superstar get traded.
Right.
And once that happens, even though the truth is that shouldn't mean it's possible to happen to you as much as it should show the reaction to that, should show the whole world how stupid it is to trade 25-year-old superstars under contract. Like the Luka Doncic trade should not, because I've heard some people say this, well, that should show you anybody could get traded. No, you know what that should show you? Nico Harrison doesn't know what he's doing. That's what that should show you. Look at the reaction from basically everybody in the world to that trade. It's like, what are you doing? You can't do that. It's the dumbest thing I've ever heard of. Adam Silver, the commissioner of the NBA, who needs to play it down the middle, even acknowledged, I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe they did that. I was surprised by that. So the whole world just told you it's stupid to trade a 25-year-old superstar, right? But still, like, when that stuff's sitting out there, you can kill it and get everybody on the same page again pretty quickly, and also maybe even make it better.
Yep.
Maybe even make it better, because it has not been the best of Ja Morant seasons. You know that. We talked about it earlier in the week. So then you read they might be thinking of moving off of you. Like, that can bother you. It would bother me. I don't know if it bothered him. It would bother me. And so to have your boss come out so strongly and just say, absolutely not, this is our guy, I would appreciate that if I were Ja.
Me too. I would too.
I'll talk to Mike Wallace about it next.
Thanks for showing up, Memphis. Nothing beats catching your Grizzlies IRL, and nobody knows that better than you. So next time you want to hit up a game, Ticketmaster's got your back with tickets to every upcoming matchup. Whether you're catching the Grizzlies at home or on the road, you'll find tickets at Ticketmaster, the official ticket marketplace of the Memphis Grizzlies and the NBA. Keep putting that jersey collection to use and get Grizzlies tickets today. There's no better brag than saying you saw it live. See you courtside again soon, Memphis.
Our fans have a huge impact on our ability to play to the level that we're striving for.
Drop off, Morant. Oh! Well, you wanted home crowd involvement.
I love those moments where you see our guys engaging in the fans, and the fans just get pumped up.
They are standing in FedEx Forum.
I would hate to be on the other side with the opposition when FedEx Forum's rolling. That's such an unbelievable relationship that our group has with our fans.
Kroger shoppers and Grizz fans, one exclusive last-minute discounted ticket deals texted straight to you during the Grizzlies 2024-2025 season. Sign up with the new Kroger Buzzer Beater deal. Fans can sign up by texting Grizz to 636-479 or visit your local Kroger store in the Delta Division and scan the QR code. By signing up, you agree to receive recurring automated promotional and personalized marketing text messages from the Memphis Grizzlies. Consent is not a condition of any purchase. Message frequency varies. Message and data rates may apply.
There's no substitute for experience, the knowledge gained from having been there before, and the passion to share what you know to make everyone around you better. It's true in basketball. It's true in banking. Grizzlies Checking from Pinnacle. Play hard. Bank easy. Open a Grizzlies checking account with at least $100 and a recurring direct deposit by August 31st, and you could receive a $200 direct deposit bonus into your account. Details at grizzliesbanking.com. Member FDIC.
It's your turn to drive into luxury at Southland Casino Hotel. Join us on Saturdays to win your share of up to $1 million in free play and prizes. And don't miss the chance to take home luxury itself during the grand finale drawings. Drive off in a 2025 Land Rover on February 1st or a 2025 Range Rover on March 1st. 2 vehicles, 2 finales, 1 million ways to enjoy luxury only at Southland Casino Hotel. Must be 21 or up. Play responsibly. For help quitting, call 800-522-4700.
left in the regular season for the Grizzlies. We get restarted tonight. We're going to do it in Indianapolis. And joining me live right now from Shoot-Around, it's Mike Wallace, Grind City Media's own. Mike Wallace is GP. How you doing?
Hey, I'm doing great, man. Thanks a lot for having me. We're actually at IU
PUI.
Indianapolis. Yeah, IU PUI on their campus right now doing a shoot-around. The Grizzlies are in this building, right in this room right behind me. Just got started, so hey, man, looking forward to it.
I used to go there annually. I believe that's where the Nike All-America camp used to be year after year after year in Indianapolis. So I've at least been in the area. Real quick, before we start looking ahead, big headline yesterday from Zach Kleiman, Grizzlies GM, just sort of squashing any speculation about Ja Morant possibly being moved this offseason. What did you make about how that became a story and then how Zach very quickly squashed it?
Well, GP, you and I have been in the industry for a long time, man. We know how these things work. And what I will say is this. It was much to do about nothing. Everyone did their job, right? Everyone did their job. Howie Beck, a guy that you and I both know, one of the upstanding guys in the industry, he talks to GMs and executives around the league all the time, just like we all used to do when we were external media members. You still do in your role with CBS. And it's not uncommon for a guy to say, hey, if this is a wild and crazy trade deadline, I imagine it's going to be some more wild and crazy stuff coming up this summer. And if you're asked, who might you hear about in that situation, a GM might say, hey, these are some of the guys that if things go wrong with their teams, they might come up in these discussions. So I don't think it was egregious. It happens all the time. Howie is a New York Times reporter back in the day. If he thought it was something serious, he would have wrote an actual story about it.
Right.
Instead, it was just a dismissive comment on a podcast. And I think the reaction to it, so Howie did his job. The GM guy did his job. Zach Kleiman did his job to come out strongly, saying this is not what we do. This is not what we're interested in. Because Zach is speaking to both Ja Morant. He's speaking to Ja Morant's people. He's speaking to the Grizzlies as an organization and as a fan base. And so he had to come out as strongly as possible. So Zach Kleiman did his job. And Drew Hill did his job because he saw the rumor and he said, hey, let me take a long shot here and see if Zach will comment on it. And if he does, he'll give it to me exclusively. And he did. So everybody did their job. Ja Morant, I can tell you, I can confirm based on sources, Ja Morant is in the room right behind me, working out with the Grizzlies, getting ready for tonight's game against the Indiana Pacers.
I would never try to pretend I know exactly how a 25-year-old superstar feels about his boss having his back in such a public way. But as a 48-year-old non-superstar, I know I would appreciate that. Do you get the sense that that resonated with Ja in a meaningful way, Zach coming out so strongly and just killing this before it became bigger than it already was?
I'm not sure how it resonated with Ja. It just depends on what kind of mind space and headspace he was in. I'm sure it didn't hurt at all. But I'm also sure that Ja didn't need to hear that through the media from Zach Kleiman. I'm sure Zach Kleiman went to Ja Morant. They have the kind of relationship where this doesn't have to be played out through the media. I think this was more to squash any talk of it continuing to be a storyline. It's more to squash any of the external noise. But again, Ja Morant is a powerful young man. He doesn't want – I think it meant something for him for people to come out and show that they strongly have his back. But I don't know if it was necessary. And the fact of the matter is you're number 2 in the West. You're 36-18. You're right where you projected to be, or not even projected to be. You're probably surprising some people about the way you stand going into the stretch run of the season. And everybody around you is playing really, really well. So there's no reason to even think that this won't work out for you. If you can come back, be healthy, sustain some availability, and take this team into the playoffs. So, again, like I said, it's a storyline that got squashed. It didn't have to be a storyline, but we're in a different age of the media right now, where media isn't what media used to be. So, I'll just leave it at that.
I thought it was interesting. I'm talking to Mike Wallace. He is in Indianapolis. The Grizzlies restarting the regular season tonight against the Pacers. Tip is at 6 o'clock inside Gainbridge Fieldhouse. I thought it was interesting that just as soon, and I mean just as soon as All-Star Weekend was over for Jaren Jackson Jr., he immediately started talking about Memphis and getting back with his teammates and refocused on this regular season. Obviously, I assume most people who are chasing championships, Western Conference or otherwise, have that mindset, but it was just sort of it was nice to hear him like, all right, this is over. This has been fun. Great experience. I'm ready to rejoin my teammates. Just what did you make of how Jaren verbalized his mindset heading back into the restart of this regular season?
I mean, Jaren has been the absolute perfect ambassador for this team, for this community, for the NBA. I mean, you're seeing all of Jaren's maturity, all of his professionalism, all of his greatness on and off the court come to fruition this season. And he's put a lot into it, man. What you're seeing out of Jaren now, both as a spokesman, what he's saying, and what he's doing, it has been in the works ever since the offseason, when last season ended. And he said, look, I have to make this hurt, this pain, this disappointment mean something. And if we're doing our jobs, we're all going to make it mean something, what the Grizzlies went through last year. And Jaren is taking every opportunity to underscore that. You know what I mean? It's a double down and triple down on those notions. And he said it yesterday, too, in practice, before this 3-game road trip started. He said it's about staying healthy. It's about the right mindset. It's about the right kind of swagger going into this, this stretch run, knowing that we haven't done anything yet. Like, we still have so much to prove. And when you hear Jaren talk about that and show that leadership, it's coming from a genuine place, and he's backing it up with his performance on the court.
Tonight, the opponent is the Pacers. You're in Indianapolis. That means Zach Edey is back in the state where he won back-to-back Wooden Awards as college basketball's top player. How big of a story, if at all, is that in Indianapolis, that Zach Edey, the Purdue star, is back in the state?
Well, you can see some of the media member gathering behind me back here waiting to go in to practice. That's the Zach Edey crowd. When it comes to that, they want to speak to him, obviously. But then you go a little bit further, man. The Grizzlies have so many connections to this city, to this region, to this state. Jaren Jackson Jr., Indianapolis guy. Desmond Bain is from Richmond, which is not too far from here as well, too. Zach Edey, obviously. John Conchar, who did his thing at Fort Wayne. So the Grizzlies have quite a few guys on this team that every time they come to this region, it means something. And it resonates here. But Zach Edey had a great game when they played the Pacers in the preseason. He had a monster double-double the first time he came here in the preseason, and this will be his first time back in a regular season game, and he will be in the starting lineup, and I look for another big game from Zach Edey as well.
I always enjoy talking to you because most of us, even most of us who work in the industry, we only see and talk to these players in formal settings, at games, before or after, but you're actually in hotel lobbies with them, in airports with them sometimes. You have a better sense for like how things are going. Once the trade deadline passes, you look up and there's new faces here, and there's old faces that are no longer here. Just what are the vibes like being around the team over the past 24 hours or so?
It's a new energy. It's everyone got a break. Guys did some remarkable things over the break, from taking some time off and going to different locations around the world to just basically working on their basketball condition. Like Vince Williams Jr. said, look, I'm not a guy that's going to go on vacation right now. I have to get in NBA game shape to be ready because I don't want to stay on a minutes restriction. So he says that. I looked in there a few minutes ago before they started, and one of the first guys working out was Marvin Bagley III. And he's not on the injury report anymore. So, it's a matter of time he ramps his way back up and try to become a factor, or at least an option at the back end of the rotation. And, when you talk about Desmond, obviously he had his jersey retired at TC. That was emotional, and now he's coming back to his home region. So these guys know, listen, the first 54 games, we did what we needed to do, and now these last 28 is going to be a rat race to the finish, man. And it's not going to be easy. The Grizzlies have the third toughest schedule the rest of the way, and it starts with 3 straight playoff position teams in the Eastern Conference. We know this team hasn't fared well against above 500 teams this season, but they've dominated teams below 500. Well, they're not going to get a whole lot of below 500 teams the rest of the way.
How big of a concern is that for you? Because I can sit here and factually state over and over again that the Grizzlies are 36-18, second best record in the West, and that is true. But then if somebody wants to counterpoint it, they can start pointing to, all right, but let's get in there and look at these wins and losses, and most of the wins are against bad teams, and most of the losses are against good teams. You're not really beating the good teams as often as somebody with that record probably should. Is that a real concern to you?
That is a real concern, because these are the type of teams that you're going to match up against. And it doesn't mean anything right now, sort of in the regular season, because if you don't learn from it, if you don't make adjustments, if it doesn't give you a barometer of what you're going to be facing come the playoffs, then you're wasting these opportunities. But you're right. Anybody who can dissect the Grizzlies record, 36-18, right? So 36 wins. 23 of those 36 wins have come against sub-500 teams. 18 losses. 15 of those 18 losses have come against teams above 500. So they have the biggest differential between performance against plus 500 and sub 500 of any team in the league. They have to even that out. They have to get on a roll where they can show that they can beat some of these teams and match up and get some game film so that they can learn from when they get into a 7-game series against any of these guys.
Last thing before I get you out of here, and I think you can connect some dots here because on one hand, 36-18 is great, particularly when you're starting 2 rookies for much of the season. On the other hand, what some people would tell you is maybe the reason you don't have a great record against the good teams is because you're starting 2 rookies, and it's very difficult to do that, particularly when it becomes playoff basketball. Do you think these final 28 games of the regular season will be spent on some level trying to figure out how to not enter the Western Conference playoffs with 2 rookies in your starting lineup? Is this going to be a pathway for Vince Williams to ultimately start on the wing for the Grizzlies?
I won't rule that out, and I don't think Taylor Jenkins is the kind of coach, and this is the kind of coaching staff that will rule out anything. But I also don't believe that they're at the point now where they're saying, hey, what does Vince Williams need to do in order for us to justify putting them in the starting lineup? Jalen Wells and Zach Edey have done a lot to help this team get to where they are. One more so than the other at certain times in the season. But I think unless things change drastically from that standpoint, I don't see them switching up the starting 5 right away. Now, they aren't locked into that. If there's going to be changes, as we've seen, it's more about who you finish the game with than who you start the game with. So I can see that continuing being the case where you start these 2 rookies and then you finish games with who you feel like is performing at the best. And so far, we've seen Vince Williams Jr. and Brandon Clark in a lot of those closing opportunities for the Grizzlies, even though they're not in the starting lineup from that standpoint.
That is Mike Wallace, Grind City Media Zone. He's in Indianapolis. Grizzlies restarting the regular season tonight against the Pacers. 6 o'clock inside Gainbridge Fieldhouse. He's on Twitter /X at MyMikeCheck. It's a real professional to sit there and hold a phone /iPad like that at outside of a shoot-around. So I appreciate you doing it, buddy, and I'll catch up with you next week.
Hey, this constitutes my workout for the day, man.
All right, brother. I'll see you. Hey, that really does take some – You think it's nothing, Bennett, but try to stand there for 15 minutes with your arms straight out.
That's right.
It ain't the easiest thing
that was impressive.
It's not the easiest thing you've ever done. It reminds me of the St. Joe's Hawk. Do you know the story about the St. Joe's Hawk, their mascot?
No.
St. Joseph's, right? Basketball pro. Jameer Nelson played there. Delonte West played there.
I know. Yeah.
So their Hawk, one of the things is that the Hawk never dies or the Hawk never something. It's the Hawk. Anyway, whoever's in that thing.
The mascot uniform? Yeah.
They have to do this the entire game.
Oh, and they can't put their arms down. And that seems easy. Like, you could probably do that for, 5 minutes.
Buddy.
Yeah.
I dare you to try to do this for 5 minutes.
Uh-huh.
You can't. I mean, because we're out of shape and, we're wasting our bodies.
Yes.
We're disgusting.
That's correct.
Accurate. But, like, I'm already tired.
Yeah.
I've already had enough of this.
And it does it the whole time?
Like, if the game goes to double overtime, buddy, the Hawk never dies.
That's insane.
It is.
That's
insane.
pretty cool.
That's not far removed from what Mike Wallace was having to do there.
Yeah.
Having to just hold that like that. That's it's not the easiest thing in the world. You probably have to go 1 hand for a minute and then 1 hand for a minute. That's real dedication for Mike Wallace.
That's real dedication.
Think about all the places we've talked to him. Outside of a shoot around, on a boat. The boat was my favorite.
The boat was my favorite.
It just looked right.
It was cool.
It just looked right.
We'll probably get that again this summer.
I wouldn't mind having Mike Wallace on a boat. In all seriousness, we have not arguments, but like there are other people are having arguments. I'm not participating in them.
Yeah, I got you.
But other people are having arguments about the validity of this Grizzlies record. Because again, it's 36-18. That's a fact. There's no getting around that. But when you dig into it, it's almost like when you look at college basketball's teams' resumes and you go, okay, this team's got a really nice record. But then you have a selection committee look at it and you go, okay, but who have they really beaten? In other words, if we took college basketball system and applied it to the Grizzlies, they'd have a lot of wins, but not many quad ones. They'd be low on the quad ones. Right? They'd have a lot of quad 3 and quad 4 wins. They'd be low on the quad 1s. And so now the schedule is going to kick up, 28 games left, and we're going to start getting some answers because most of the easy games are over and most of the hard games are on their way. So there's going to be time, whether it's a week from now, 2 weeks from now, 3 weeks from now, where we will not be able to keep talking about this the same way. They're not going to continue to be 18 games above 500, but with not enough good wins. The only way to stay 18 games above 500 going forward, you're going to have to get big wins. You're going to have to beat good teams. You're going to have to beat teams over 500. You're playing one tonight. The Pacers are 30-23. I don't know how good they are, but they're 30-23. They're 7 games above 500. Tonight, you want to win, you can't just beat a bad team under 500. That's what a lot of your wins are. Tonight, you want to add a 37th win to the resume? Well, you've got to beat a team that's above 500. So if you are somebody who has been dismissive of this record, okay, that's fine. I look at the standings like anybody else, but like peek inside and see what's really there. Lift up the hood and take a real look. If you're one of those people, we're going to all have the same conversation soon. You cannot keep winning without beating good teams. You could get to this point largely without beating good teams too often, but you cannot continue to win at this rate unless you start beating good teams because the schedule is about to pop up.
And on the flip side of that argument, you could say, well, look at what all they've had to overcome to even get to this record.
Well,
and with guys in and out of the lineup the whole entire first half of the season, or however far along we are now. Yeah.
Well, that's the other you could go back and you can point, counterpoint, point, counterpoint. Yep. I can say they're 36-18. Suck it. Mm-hmm. And then you can say, but
who'd they beat?
Yeah, but who'd they beat? And I'd say, okay, fine, who'd they beat? But my God, John Morant's played 32 games, right?
Desmond Bain missed time.
Vince Williams has barely played at all.
He's barely played,
Ideally, game 1 of the Western Conference Finals, you know who the starting point guard is going to be? John Morant. You know who's probably going to start on the wing? Vince Williams. Mm-hmm. John's played 32 games. Vince barely played at all.
Right.
So, you can nitpick the 36-18 if you want to, but the 36-18 franchise point guard has only played 32 times, and the likely starter on the wing has barely played at all. So shut up, Bennett.
Yeah, I know. Hey, I'm not the one saying it. The thing, I love where they are right now too, because again, like you said, we're gonna find out because they're playing a bunch of good teams coming up, and that injury report is clean. So there's no excuses. There's not we're gonna know everything about this team here in the next couple weeks probably. So I'm really excited about it, man. I'm ready to go. I think that this. I try to lean positive. I feel good right now. I do. I feel good right now about this.
And we get an early tip tonight?
We get an early tip tonight. I like that.
And it's in downtown Indianapolis. I don't know how many people listening or watching have been to Gainbridge Fieldhouse to downtown Indianapolis, but it's fabulous. If you ever go to Gainbridge Fieldhouse, the first thing you'll notice when you sit in there, do you know what the first thing you'll notice is when you sit down in your seat? It feels exactly like FedEx Forum.
I've heard that. Yeah, I've heard it's similar. Yeah.
I don't know if it's the last time, but I remember one time after having not been there for a while, I was there, and I was like,
"This is the same arena."
I was like, "This feels just like," and somebody then quickly told me, "Well, because in part FedEx Forum was designed on some level after what used to be Bankers Life, but is now Gainbridge." But it's similar in the sense that it's downtown Indianapolis, which is kind of small and walkable, a little like downtown Memphis. And the arena's right there, and then there's the famous steakhouse, and there's the bars. It feels a little bit like this.
I forgot to, because Mike mentioned it, about all of the kind of side storylines that we have with this game, with Zach Edey being back in Indianapolis, with Desmond Bain being back, with,
Jaren,
and also, I'm old enough to remember when people were once upon a time comparing John Morant to Tyrese Halliburton, and
Bennett has not let go of that.
That is a thing to Ja. I'm telling you, dude. I love this spot for John Morant tonight because that is a thing. Because that was a comparison, man. It was. There were people saying Tyrese Halliburton is better than John Morant. That happened. So I'm telling you, he didn't forget that.
I saw Tyrese Halliburton last night. I was watching the Netflix documentary. I saw him just sitting over there on the bench, right? Yep. I saw him just sitting over the bench in his USA jersey. You think Ja takes this personally tonight?
Yes.
Oh.
Yes, I do.
I hope so. I would prefer that.
I would prefer that as well.
I would prefer that. Tyrese Halliburton,
Good player. Good player.
Is he as good as he has been presented?
Well, I don't know if
All-Star USA basketball. Is he really that stuff?
No, he had that run, but it was I won't say it was a handful of games. He had a nice run. And he's a good player.
Call him overrated if you want to.
No, I'm not calling him overrated because I think he's properly rated now. I think people have come back to earth a little bit.
Hey, let's see if we can pull a Howard Beck here. I want you to look into that camera.
I'm not doing that.
I want you to look into that, Luke. I want you to look into that camera, and I want to say that you were talking. I want you to just repeat after me. Say, I was talking to an NBA GM.
Yeah, I would never talk to an NBA GM. No.
Okay.
I can't do it.
Say this. Let's make it factually correct. Have you ever talked to Roser?
Yes.
Okay. Say this. I was talking to somebody who, let's just say, broadcast professional basketball. And one of the things they were saying is that word around the league is Tyrese Halliburton is the most overrated guard in the world. Look into that camera and say that. And then let's see if we can get a headline out of it, and we'll make the Pacers GM have to respond.
I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. I don't believe in the fake. I don't like that. I don't like that stuff. I was angry at the fake reports about Ja. I don't want to do that.
What is the point of having a podcast if you just can't say wild shit and get other people to repeat it? What are we even doing?
The word on the street is that Tyrese Halliburton is one of the most overrated players in the NBA. That's just what I've heard from NBA circles.
From you were talking
from
to
professional basketball circles. I was talking to a broadcaster that broadcasts professional basketball games, and
like somebody you might hear on SportsCenter sometimes.
Yes, he said that rumblings were that Tyrese Halliburton is one of the most overrated players in the NBA. Again, it didn't come from my mouth. It came from the sources that I hear things from.
Okay, but like, is this a source? Okay, like let's see how good your source is, though.
Yeah.
Have I ever heard your source on SportsCenter?
Yes.
Okay. Wow.
Yes.
Ooh. And your source?
Familiar with SportsCenter?
I mean, I've heard of sports. So your source has been on SportsCenter. Your source employed by an NBA franchise? Ooh.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Aggregate it, somebody.
Again, this is just what I've heard.
Yeah, but that's all it takes.
Yes.
That's all it takes.
Yes.
All you have to have done is heard something.
Yeah.
That's all it takes.
That simple.
Let's see. Let's see what they have to. Let's see them answer for this tonight in Indianapolis.
We need a dub. I'm ready to come out on fire.
I'm ready to come out on fire.
I really am. This one's important.
This one's important. I'm ready to come out on fire.
This one's important to the psyche.
Tip is at 6 o'clock. It's up in Indianapolis. It's your Memphis Grizzlies against according to Bennett's sources, the most overrated guard in the world, Tyrese Halliburton, and the Indiana Pacers, who make their home in Indianapolis. By the way, I'm against that. You should be your city, not your state. I don't like the Tennessee Titans. They should be the Nashville Titans, and the Pacers should be the Indianapolis Pacers.
I disagree with that.
I don't like the whole state thing.
The Tennessee thing is different because it's like you've got the Tri-Cities or whatever. Isn't that what we call it? What do we call it?
I don't call it anything.
That's different. That's different. The Indiana thing, I agree with.
Just gets confusing.
Yeah.
Be the Minneapolis Timberwolves and the Indianapolis Pacers. And the San Francisco
I don't know, man.
Warriors.
You have people all over the state that like these teams. I disagree with your sentiment. I don't like that. I'm cool with the state thing, except when it comes to the Memphis Grizzlies.
What if they were the Tennessee Grizzlies? Would you be cool with it then?
But we're like all the way over here. We're our own little entity over here. In case they try to kick us out of this state all the time,
buddy. Don't. Yeah. I read the news. I know what they're doing.
I don't think the rest of the state even wants us here. For being quite honest,
the rest of the state would actually be upset if we called them the Tennessee Grizzlies.
Yeah, so
the rest of the state would be like, no,
completely different. Yeah, we're our own entity.
All right, fine. We'll argue that another day, probably during the summer.
Yeah,
we'll argue.
That'd make for a great summer topic.
Yeah, we'll argue greatest sports movies of all time and whether or not we should get rid of state names connected to professional sports franchises.
Good.
Go ahead and slot that for. Let's call it July 17th.
Okay.
All right. We come back. Tigers got a quad one victory out of nowhere. Drew Hill tweeted about it this morning. I'll tell you what he tweeted. I'll tell you what happened. We'll do that next. Gary Parrish Show presented by Ortho South.
Thanks for showing up, Memphis. Nothing compares to catching your Grizzlies IRL. And that all starts with buying tickets at Ticketmaster, the official ticket marketplace of the Memphis Grizzlies and the NBA. Ticketmaster gets you to the game so you can catch every highlight. Put that jersey collection to use for the next game and get Grizzlies tickets at Ticketmaster. Whether they're here at FedEx Forum or on the road, Ticketmaster's got your back when it comes to scoring tickets. And there's no better brag than saying you saw it live.
Can't wait. It's time to get it popping. It's going to be crazy. The fans are going to be loud. We need just energy.
Behind the back to Jared for the flush.
We're going to need, the form rocking. We're going to need, everybody in Memphis to be out there to come to support.
When the fans are good, we're good. Simple as that.
A Bane 3. Yes, sir. Desmond Bane with ice water in his veins.
We'll ride the energy together.
Memphis Cat is back with his Heaven on Earth tour.
I tried to be incognito, but thanks to Shannon Sharp's loud mouth, the gig is up.
February 22nd in the FedEx Forum.
In my spare time, I infiltrate the Illuminati, look for their secrets, run back, tell y'all.
Don't miss this year's most talked about comedy icon live. He's back with brand new material, an unmatched wit, and an electrifying performance. Get tickets at Ticketmaster.com.
When it's all on the line, you turn to the strong, the stable, the unwavering, to those with a history of raising their performance to meet the moment. It's true in basketball. It's true in banking. Grizzlies checking from Pinnacle. Play hard, bank easy. Open a Grizzlies checking account with at least $100 and a recurring direct deposit by August 31st, and you could receive a $200 direct deposit bonus into your account. Details at grizzliesbanking.com. Member FDIC.
Sonic Radio. Welcome back to Sonic RNDIO. That spells radio with me, the CIO. This just in, the new Sonic $1.99 menu lets you build a crave-worthy meal for just $1.99 an item. Whether that's a creamy shake, crispy tots, or a quarter-pound double cheeseburger. This just out. Ostriches. They're mean, not very cute, and in my opinion, way too big for a bird. Don't miss the Sonic Fun 99 menu. 5 items, always $1.99. Live free, eat Sonic.
Tax not included. See menu for details.
Orthopedic injuries can be unpredictable, unforeseen, and unscheduled, and Ortho South understands this better than anyone. Since your injuries don't make appointments, you don't need to either. That's because Ortho South welcomes walk-ins during the weekdays and the evenings, and even on Saturdays. So next time an unforeseen injury makes an unscheduled appearance in your life, visit orthosouth.org to find your nearest urgent care location. Just walk in, and Ortho South will take care of everything, especially you. Learn more at orthosouth.org. That's orthosouth at orthosouth.org. Now, I got 5 more things you need to know.
Number 1.
Hey, the Tigers picked up a quadrant 1 victory
Yes,
this morning
did.
without
Yes,
even
did.
playing.
Yep.
Congratulations to Drew Hill. His tweet, I think he had it first. He's on quite a little tweet storm, this Drew Hill.
He really is.
He's on quite a little tweet storm. He had the Zach Kleiman quote from yesterday, and then this morning I saw it as I was, getting up and doing all the things you do when you get up. I saw it. Drew Hill said, hey, guess what? Guess what? Small Tiger scoop. The Tigers added a 6th quadrant 1 victory because the NCAA has reviewed the game versus San Francisco and decided to call it a true road win for the Tigers as opposed to a neutral court for the Tigers. And once you decide that is a road win for the Tigers, it flips from quadrant 2 to quadrant 1 because San Francisco is right now sitting at 62nd in the net. As you know, Bennett, as someone who's studied the quadrant system thoroughly, a win over a top 30 team at home is quad 1. Neutral, you got to be in the top 50. But on the road, it's 1 to 75. Guess where 62 falls? Somewhere between 1 and 75. And if you've got a road win over 62, that's a quadrant 1 victory. So now technically, even though it hasn't updated on the sites that I look at, right now technically Memphis is 6-2 in quadrant 1, 4-1 in quadrant 2, so 10-3 in the first 2 quadrants, with a couple of quadrant 3 losses as well.
I believe Wichita State also just flipped.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, from a quad 3 to a quad 2.
Because Wichita State got up to 133, and road game against anybody in the top 135 falls into quadrant 2. So
it's really good stuff.
That's a hell of a Wednesday night for the Tigers.
That's really good stuff.
That's a hell of a Wednesday night for Tigers. They gained a quadrant 1 win and lost a quadrant 3 loss. Who had a better Wednesday night than the Tigers?
Missouri,
probably.
I was going to say Missouri.
Beat Alabama really bad. But that's also Great for the Tigers.
That's great.
Because guess who has a season opening victory over Missouri?
Mm-hmm.
Your Memphis Tigers.
Yep.
And Missouri is up to 13 in the net. Like that, we thought in the first month of the season, the UConn win.
It's kind of wild, yep.
Or the Michigan State win.
And that one's good.
Oh, yeah.
That one's really good.
Yeah. But you know what might end up being Memphis' biggest win?
That Missouri win.
The 83-75 season opening victory over Missouri inside FedEx Forum.
Yep. Clemson is good. Clemson's a good one.
Clemson's win's good. They got good wins.
They've got some really good wins.
So now 6 in quadrant 1. By the way, if you're keeping track, and they're going to continue to slide down these rankings because they can't get any more quadrant 1 wins.
Yep.
Like it's over. I don't think they can get another quadrant 1 win until selections, until the NCAA tournament. Because everything would have to be on a neutral, 1 through 50.
Where is North Texas in all this? Do we know where they're sitting?
They're 56th.
Okay. Well, if
they could get into...
if they keep winning and you meet them in the conference tournament.
But they'd have to get in the top 50 for it to be in a neutral. It is likely that Memphis has no ability to get another quadrant 1 victory until the NCAA tournament, which means it cannot add another quadrant 1 victory before Selection Sunday. So if all numbers stay the same, and they might not, that's the other thing. They could lose. They could lose one.
Mm-hmm.
But if all numbers stay the same, they would have 6 on Selection Sunday. Right now, 6 quadrant 1 wins ranks tied for 12th in the country. But you're going to continue to slide that down because 6 will not be tied for 12th soon. Because SEC teams, Big 10 teams, Big 12 teams, they're just constantly adding quadrant 1 victories. So 6 will not be as good, honestly, this time next week as it is right now. But right now, 6 quadrant 1 wins does qualify, tied for 12th in the country. You lose a quadrant 3 loss, gain a quadrant 3 win. The overnight updates for the Tigers as it pertains to the net, about as good as you can get.
Number 2.
So last night I stumbled into my home, a little worried about how the roads might be, Bennett, from Memphis International down to beautiful Mississippi. No problems.
No, roads are good.
No problems.
Roads are good.
Had no issues getting here today. If people are wondering whether you can drive around the city of Memphis today,
I did just fine.
I did just fine. Had no issues. There was still a little ice patch here or there, but I ran into no issues. I did see a car like sitting in the middle of the median on the interstate. Did see that, but it wasn't my car. I had no issues. So I stumbled into my home last night, and family's there. Everybody's good, and they're watching something on Netflix, cooking dinner, doing family stuff. And so then whatever they were watching on Netflix just sort of went off. It just stopped, you know how that does. And so then just like Netflix is just sitting there, and it's like you could turn something else on. And I knew I'm not going to try to turn something that I'm actually that interested in on right then because, there's too much going on. And I just walked in the door. And I am the type, are you this type, when you sit down to watch something, it's time to watch it. Shut up. Or are you like, we just have it on and we can see it or not see it and, it's fine?
It depends on what it is. Like if it's a movie, it's time to like sit down and watch. If it's like a, if it's like a show, like that's like a weekly show that you really care. Yeah, it's time to sit down and watch. If it's just like,
Right.
Well, like, I mean, sports, I'm not, we're just,
okay,
it's just on.
Okay, well, it sounds like you and I are exactly right.
Yeah.
Exactly alike, in the sense that if I'm going to watch the next episode of Severance.
Let's sit down and watch.
And shut up, all right? Like, let's all respectfully, like we all love each other, but let's shut up and watch what we're watching. I don't think I'm fun to watch TV with because I don't want to talk to you. I want to watch what I'm watching. All right?
I'm a little chatty.
I don't want to be chatty.
I'm a little chatty.
I want to watch what I'm watching. So I needed to watch episode 1 of White Lotus. I got a whole to-do list, Bennett.
I got you.
I'm overwhelmed right now. I've got so much TV I've got to get to. I've really let it slide. I got a whole thing of Cobra Kai I got to get to. I got an episode of Severance I got to get to.
Me too.
I wanted to watch the episode 1 of season 3, White Lotus, I needed to get to. But I know very quick, that is the type of thing you can just walk in the house with the whole family and just be like, all right, I'm going to watch episode 1 of White Lotus because I want to watch it. I don't want to be talking about stuff. I want to watch it. So Netflix has just sort of paused there. You know what I saw sitting there? You know what I saw? Court of Gold. Vernon had talked to me about it yesterday.
Yeah.
It's the new 6-part documentary dropped on Netflix about Team USA. trying to secure gold medal at the Paris Olympics this past. As you know, I was at the Paris Olympics.
I forgot you were there.
Yeah, don't worry about it. It's not a big deal.
Good.
It's not a big deal. I don't want to make it about me. I was at the Paris Olympics. So I said, okay, this is perfect for what I need right now. Let's put something on the TV, but we're all down here catching up. How you doing? How you been? You play in the snow today? When's the next baseball practice? We're all getting caught up. And here's the great thing about Court of Gold. I don't really have to watch it. I
saw it all, yeah.
I know these people.
Yeah.
I know these people. I largely know their stories. I know who wins and who loses. So this can just kind of be on. And next thing you know, we watched 3 episodes of it.
Nice.
We watched it until I was the only one still awake. And let me be clear. We did not watch it because of me. Once the kids fell asleep, I was like, all right, now everybody's asleep. Can we just, you want to watch White Lotus or something? I was giving my wife every out to change it. And you know what she said? No, I like this. This is
good.
She was into it. And I think it's built more for non-basketball fans than it is for like those of us who like lived through this and came in and talked about it every day. Because my little guy, it's very hard for them to just sit down and watch things without at some point wanting to grab an iPhone or an iPad or go put on the VR headset or go play PS5. And he just was able to sit there. He just watched it. He was interested in this because he knows the players. And then it really does humanize these people. You mentioned it yesterday. You see Kevin Durant cry.
Yep.
And there's the scene that's gone viral between Anthony Edwards and Barack Obama. That's hilarious. As I was talking about it with Vernon yesterday, I just sort of barely seen sort of seen it in passing, but didn't see it with the context of the documentary. And it's hilarious in that you have this moment where this young basketball star is meeting President of the United States. And Anthony Edwards does not care that it is Barack Obama. It could have been Barack Obama or Kevin Hart or me or you. He's just unmoved by the presence of President Obama in a way that is unusual. And it's so interesting because Anthony Edwards is hilarious just in his day-to-day life, but he's not even being that funny in this moment as much as he's just being unmoved by the President of the United States. And it gets to a point where I can sort of, because I know what this feels like a little bit, when you're in a conversation with somebody and you don't really know where it should go next. I couldn't help but, and maybe I'm reading way too much into it, but I'm just watching it and sort of smiling because it's interesting to me. President Obama is there and he's just trying to talk to Anthony Edwards, and Anthony Edwards is just unimpressed and just doesn't seem to that interested in any of it. And it almost gets to a point where and he's also like, Anthony Edwards is just like talking to Barack Obama like he's a fan. Like, I'm the truth. What are you talking about? Like, what are you, and because Obama's like, and this guy here, this young guy over here, he's really something, isn't he? And Anthony Edwards is like, I'm the truth. What are you talking about? Like, he just is. And you see President Obama, I can almost see him I don't know what to do with this guy. I don't know what to say to the point to where he even calls LeBron over. Barack does. He's like, LeBron, come over here for a second. What do you think of this guy? He seems. This is a man who talks to world leaders and is, the coolest president of all time and all that stuff, right? And he just doesn't really know what to do with Anthony Edwards because he can't imagine talking to. You're Barack Obama, you walk around and everybody who meets you just about is like, President Obama, it's a real honor. President Obama, it's a real honor. That is your interactions, your every day, all day long. President Obama. And here's Anthony Edwards, he's doesn't care. He just does not, is just unmoved. So you just pick up on all the personality stuff and how the players, it's just really well done. If I've got a criticism, it feels like too much. After a while, I felt like, all right, I know enough about the Serbian national team.
Yeah, I gotcha.
All right, okay, I know enough about Boris Diaw and what he thinks of Wemby, because it's not just about USA basketball. I mean, they spend real time with the French team, with the Canadian team, with the Serbian team. But it's well done. And I think if you're a basketball fan, you'll enjoy it, but you don't have to be. My family is not the family that's sitting around watching SportsCenter every night. we watch Grizzlies games and college basketball games, but my family is not the breaking down the Western Conference standings every morning on the car ride to school, right? Mm-hmm. But everybody was interested in this. Everybody enjoyed this. So I don't know if it's quite 2 thumbs up, but it's an easy thing to watch. Perfect for put it on in the background and just sort of cook dinner and whatever. Great for that. Court of Gold, trending still on Netflix right now.
Number 3.
Four Nations Championship tonight.
Yeah, a lot on the line.
Is it?
Oh, I just mean
they've decided a lot's on the line. You know what's on the line? Pride. That's it. Pride in your country. That's really it.
And I just feel like I feel like there's a rift between us and our neighbors to the north.
Well, our president.
I'm just worried.
Our president keeps threatening to make them the 51st straight.
That's true.
I mean,
I don't know if it was a threat.
Keeps suggesting that we could
They
possibly
should want to become. That's what he's saying. They should want to be a part of the United States.
I mean, it's.
I can understand Canada not taking.
I really don't know how to. I really don't know how to deal with what's happening in the world right now. Because on one hand, I watch this stuff and I'm like, well, this is hilarious.
Uh-huh.
And because I do have a sense of humor.
Yes.
And it is hilarious to watch the president of the United States sit in the Oval Office, because this happened last week, and say, yeah, I was talking to Governor Trudeau. Mm-hmm. He's calling him Governor Trudeau as if he's the governor of the 51st state of Canada. All right? Like, the president of the United States said that out loud. That's subjectively hilarious, if only because it's so unusual. On the other hand, it's kind of crazy out there. And I don't know how to balance it all out. I guess you just watch Court of Gold.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's probably
just
good.
Put on Court of Gold and don't think about it so much. I don't know if that's the right way to do it. But yes, there is a rift between our nation and our allies to the north.
And so while I'm excited, I'm worried.
What are you worried about?
Well, tensions are high.
Tensions are high.
And it culminates with this massive game tonight in Boston. You know it's going to be a wild crowd in Boston. Yeah. You know it's going to be a wild crowd in Boston.
So is this one of those, I don't think we hate Canadians. But Canadian.
No, I love Canada.
I love Canada too, except for that master manipulator, habitual liar from Toronto.
He doesn't represent Canada as a whole.
He tries to.
That's fine.
He tries to.
I love Canada. I'm a fan of the Canadian people and their country. I just want to put that out there.
I'm a fan of most of them, but not all.
Okay.
Not all. Not all.
Gotcha.
But most. So broadly speaking, Americans, we look at Canada and we're like, yeah, man, we love Canada.
Yeah.
They gave us Dana Carvey. What are we talking about?
And maple syrup.
And maple syrup.
Yeah.
We got Dana Carvey and maple syrup. They did send us a master manipulator and habitual liar, but we've sent him back or down to Australia, whatever. We're done with that. But Canada hates us now. Mm-hmm. They do. They hate us. They do not view us the way we view them.
Yeah.
We're like, Canada, what's up? And they're like, no, man, it's not cool no more. We're still looking at you and I. We still look at Canada like, hey, Canada, what's up?
Yes.
And they're like, no, man, it ain't cool no more.
We don't have with you anymore.
We don't have with you anymore. You're trying to make us your 51st state.
Right.
Your president keeps talking about making us a
what
state.
We got going on up here.
Yeah. Hey, we can go to the doctor. All right. Mm-hmm. You guys can keep your little America. We'll stay Canada so that we can go to the doctor when we're sick. Mm-hmm. So we can afford our health care. Right. So. They hate us now. They boo our national anthem every time they hear it.
Every single time.
So what I'm asking you, what I'm trying to figure out is this one of those things where, have you ever had this in your own life? You're like, oh yeah, I like Jimmy. Yeah, man, Jimmy's cool. And then I go, yeah, but Jimmy hates you, Bennett. Mm-hmm. Jimmy hates you.
Yeah.
Whoo. I don't know if you know, but Jimmy hates your guts. At that point, you'd be like, all right, well then I hate Jimmy's guts. If he's gonna hate my guts, I'm gonna hate his guts. My point is, we don't hate Canada, but they hate us now, so do we have to hate them back?
I'm not gonna do that.
Are you willing to cheer for Canada tonight?
No, I'm not. It's USA, USA, USA always. But I ain't gonna be mad if they win. I'll be like, hey, congrats.
You'll shake their hand.
I'll shake their hand. Yeah. I want to keep these relations strong. I do.
Well, then we should stop telling them they have to be a state.
I know.
It starts there probably.
I think that's
the relationship was pretty strong up until
that.
Up until that.
Yeah.
Up until that.
Yeah.
It was fine up until that, and now they hate us. So
they're pretty good. It's I think it's pretty even right now. Let me look and see if we got a line on this.
Oh, I got it, Bennett. -110 if you want Canada. -110 if you want the United States. It's a pick-em situation inside TD Garden. 7 o'clock, puck drops on ESPN. And have you seen tickets?
No.
Okay, I just went to StubHub. Right now, if I wanted to buy the cheapest ticket available, me and you, we're going. I say, Bennett, to hell with it. We're going to Boston today. We wrap up this carryout, and I got us on a flight to Boston. We're going to the game tonight. 2 tickets. The cheapest we can. I'm looking at it. It is the last row.
Okay.
It's where you and Noah sit for SmackDown.
Yep.
Back
everything else.
Back against the wall.
Yes.
All right. $816 a piece.
Dang.
$816 a piece to sit at the back of the.
And then you got fees and all that. You're looking at like $2,000.
You want to go to the lower level? You can't get in for less than $2,000 a seat.
Yeah.
In the lower level. This is comparable. This is being held up as Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Final. Like, this means something to the people participating tonight. And we talked about it earlier in the week, so I don't want to do a whole the same thing again, although I know I do that sometimes.
Yeah.
But, this is their all-star format. This is just what the NHL decided to do with all-star festivities. Hey, instead of doing what we've been doing, let's try this. And the players just grabbed it and said, all right.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. We care. And on Saturday night is when it sort of took to a new level because United States, Canada, they're booing our national anthem, and the puck drops and 2 dudes started fist fighting. And then we got them broken up, put them in penalty boxes. They dropped the puck again. 2 dudes started fist fighting. Then they put them in penalty boxes, dropped the puck again. They hockeyed for about 9 seconds. Then they started fighting again. And do you know what that tells the audience? Do you know what it tells the television viewers, the people in the crowd? All right, I guess this is real. I guess they really care. I don't care about hockey. Don't really care about the United States and Canada. I don't have a big American flag hanging out my front door. None of this stuff really matters that much to me. I can't wait for this. And I don't even know what I'm watching. I don't understand hockey. But I understand competition. I understand people caring. I understand passion. And it is a nightmare for the NBA that this is all happening at the exact same time as All-Star Weekend because the contrast is so easy to make. We just watched, over the weekend on back-to-back nights, the NBA and the NHL create events. Just, hey, let's think about how we want to handle our All-Star festivities. This is the way we're going to do it. The NBA players bitched about their format, and the NHL players bought into theirs. The NHL players said, cool, this is what you want us to do. Let's do it. Let's go. Let's go put on a show. Let's go compete. And the basketball players said, this is what you want us to do? This is stupid. We're not doing it. All right, well, that's why nobody cares about what you're doing, and people are paying $800 a ticket to get in tonight. It's why people are celebrating the culture of hockey right now and goofing on the culture of basketball right now. And it's not as simple as then just replicate this. I've heard some people say that. Well, then just do the same thing for the NBA. Take the best 12 players from the United States, take the best 12 players from France, best 12 players from Canada, and best 12 players from, let's just say, elsewhere in the world. However you want to do it. I don't care. But the problem becomes if the players don't then say it matters to us, it won't matter at all. The difference isn't the brilliance in formats or lack thereof. It's that the hockey players decided to care and the basketball players decided not to. So tonight, hockey will be on an incredible stage. Unlike anything we've ever seen. If only because it's unlike anything we've ever seen. This is the first time they've ever done this. It will feel like a big event. You don't have to care about hockey. You don't have to know anybody in skates. You turn that on tonight, and it's going to look like it matters. It's going to feel like it matters. And so then people are going to treat it like it matters. And it'll be celebrated tonight. I don't know who wins or loses. I just know that it'll be intense. It'll be real sports competition. And the fact that the NBA cannot figure out a way to get their players to take any sort of pride in similar stuff is, I don't want to say a real problem for the league, but definitely a problem for the league.
Number 4.
Luke Fickell. You might remember him. Used to coach in the AAC. Now he's the head coach at Wisconsin in the Big Ten. And he got a contract extension yesterday. And this is not something I would normally talk about. I don't think I'm going to talk about it long. But it's interesting in the sense that it's a reminder how weird college athletics is. Luke Fickell is coming off of a bad season. He's 13-13 through 2 years at Wisconsin. It is February 20th. The hiring and firing cycle is over.
Yep.
If you were going to fire him, you've already done it. If somebody else wanted him, that would have already been done as well. And they announced a contract extension yesterday. He makes more than $7 million a year. He already had 6 years left on the contract. So they just gave him a 7th year yesterday at a rate above $7 million. Why? What is the point? Every argument a university could make for theoretically giving a coach a contract extension does not exist here. Well, why did you give him another year on his contract? Because he's awesome and we want to keep him happy. Yeah, he's not awesome. He's 13-13. You're closer to firing him than you are building a statue of him.
Yeah.
All right? Well, you got to be able to tell prospects, high school and otherwise, that, you're going to be there throughout their career. First off, that's never been true because you can never guarantee any prospect you're going to be there. No matter how many years you got in your contract, they can fire you whenever they want to.
Yep.
But with paying you money. So it's never been true. But even if that sentiment were true, he already had 6 years left on his contract. Why did he need a 7th to do that? Well, we had to pay him because somebody else is coming to get him. No, nobody else is coming to get him. It's February 20th. Who is coming to get Luke Fickell? So why are you just imagine if you, Bennett, in your job just had you had 6 more years left on your contract, was coming off the worst year of your career, and then somebody was just like, I guess we'll just give you a 7th year. What? You wouldn't even expect it.
Right.
It makes no sense. But it happens in college athletics all the time.
Yep.
And you know why? Because they think they just have to do it. Because you know why? Because it's always, if you talk to them, you know what they'd say? Well, this is the way we do things. Well, we keep all of our coaches rolling on 7-year contracts. It's just the way we do things. Okay, well, but why? Well, what? Answer this question without saying, well, it's just the way we do it. Why did you give Luke Fickell a 7th year yesterday at $7 million when he's coming off of a bad season and nobody wants him? And what? You're not allowed to say, well, that's just the way we do it. You have to give me a different answer than that. You have no answer. No answer.
What do I say?
There's no answer.
Yeah, right.
There is no answer. This is the way we do it is not an actual answer. And so whenever you hear about these universities talking about...
Weird.
And I want to be clear, Memphis is different than Wisconsin. So you can hear Memphis talk about we don't have a lot of money, and they might not have a lot of money. But don't ever forget this. Big Ten programs, Big Ten athletic departments, they have so much money that they can just give their mediocre coach a 7th year on a contract at more than $7 million, even though he has done literally nothing to deserve it. Nothing. Nothing to deserve it, even though it's totally unnecessary. Do you think Luke Fickell could walk into anybody's office yesterday and say, if you don't give me a 7th year on my contract, I'm out of here? No. Where's he going? Where are you going, buddy?
Right.
Nobody. It's February 20th. Nobody wants you. We're not even sure if we want you. Have another bad season. We won't want you. Here's a 7th year on your contract at 7.2. What? It's just silly.
Yeah.
There's no larger point to what I'm saying other than that point. It's just a silly thing that happens in college athletics all the time, and nobody could intelligently explain it to you.
Right.
Number 5.
Congratulations to John Doyle, the Rock and Soul Museum. This is a big deal.
Man, this is very cool.
Am I overstating it?
No,
I feel like
I
feel like I'm more excited about it than you
No,
are.
I'm stoked about it. I was surprised that you had this in 5 more things.
I wanted
That's
to
pretty
celebrate
cool.
something.
Where'd you see it? CA probably commercial appeal. Yeah,
it's
making the rounds.
Honestly, I think I went to Commercial Appeal or Daily Memphian to get the Zach Kleiman tweet. They were
Yeah.
just sitting right there. Rock and Soul Museum, one of the 10 best museums, music museums in the United States of America, according to USA Today. That's a big deal.
That is really cool.
That's a big deal because when people come to Memphis, they say, all right, I know I want to go to
What am I
Bill
gonna do?
Street.
Yep.
I know I want to go to a Grizzlies game, but what else am I going to do? And if I said, well, one of the top 10 music museums in the United States of America is right there by FedEx Forum.
Mm-hmm.
Boom. This is helpful to the business, I would think.
Yeah, for sure. Obviously, I'm happy for my dad. And it's cool, too, just because, we have so many great museums in the city, obviously. The unique thing about Rock and Soul is it tells, like, the complete Memphis music history, which is kind of cool. Like, and the other thing, too, is they all support each other. So, like, you see shuttles that park out in front of the Forum. They're going from Rock and Soul to Sun to Stax. Like, you can kind of do the whole tour, right? And so that's neat that they all support each other. And it's just it's cool to see. We consider ourselves a tourist city, and I know that it's people get down on Memphis a lot, obviously for obvious reasons, but we do have some of the coolest museums here. I mean, this is a like if you're coming downtown and looking for stuff to do, again, you can hop that shuttle. You can go around to the different museums, and it's neat for the city of Memphis. I thought
I have for a couple of years now said and then failed to follow through, and I'm going to hold myself accountable this summer because you look up and then it's over. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's the way life works. You got all these ideas about shit you're going to do, and then kids are too old to do them, or you're too old to do them, or you're dead, or you're like, who knows, right? But for a couple of summers, I've said, because I think this is true among Memphians, and perhaps it's true among just people who live anywhere. Mm-hmm. You're more likely to end up at Graceland if you're not from here than if you are from here.
Very true. Yep.
My kids have never been to Graceland. All right?
Mine either.
I went once a million years ago. My kids have never been to Sun. My kids have never been to Stax. My kids are growing up within a 20-minute drive of all of this stuff and are fortunate enough to be able to experience these things, and we just don't do it. Mm-hmm. Now, I've been to all of them. But,
same, yeah.
But I have for a couple of years said we're just going to take a day or maybe pick a day once a week. Like every Tuesday, we're doing a field trip. And we're going to go to Sun one day. And we're going to go to Stax one day. And we're going to go to Rock and Soul one day. And we're going to go to Graceland one day. And I don't want my kids to be 15 saying, yeah, I've never done that. Like, let's just knock them out. Yeah. We are fortunate enough to live near a place where we have all of these things that people travel all over the world to see and experience. So why don't we? But I don't think I'm unusual. I don't think most people watching right now have experienced all of these museums.
I think you're right. And I would highly recommend, obviously, going to all of them, but definitely Rock and Soul. I mean, that's cool. We got one of the best museums in the country right here in Memphis, and it's right here at FedEx Forum, connected to it. The other cool thing worth mentioning, since you brought this up, is in a couple years they're going to take over that Hard Rock building. They're going to move right down the street to the big Hard Rock building because the Memphis Music Hall of Fame, their sister museums, already has the upstairs part that you can go check out whenever that's open now. But it's going to be this big, huge museum, Rock and Soul, Memphis Music Hall of Fame. They're going to have a concert venue. They're going to have like practice spaces for musicians and stuff. It's going to be a sick museum in downtown Memphis. Now, I recommend coming and checking out the current one right now because, again, it's one of the best museums in the country. But the new one that they're going to open downtown in a couple years is going to be really, really sick. And it's important for a city. Like, again, we consider ourselves a tourist town. Like, people come here to experience like the history of Memphis music. That's one of the big reasons people come to Memphis on vacation. And so, it's important to have great museums in a city like Memphis, and we've got that. So,
right, every once in a while, I'll get a Facebook message, email, Twitter message from somebody, and they're coming here for work, and or they're traveling through on the way to somewhere else, and it'll be like, hey, and they'll connect me to Memphis because of and hey, just where should I go? What should I do? And I am constantly pointing out these things. Like, take the time to do this stuff. This is, I mean, I can give you all the restaurants and whatever, but and as I'm sending those messages out all the time, I recognize that I haven't at least yet taken the time to do that stuff consistently with my own family. Like, why am I telling other people's families from Minneapolis to come here and go to Stax if I haven't taken my own kids to Stax, particularly after the Stax documentary that we all watched and enjoyed last year. So I got to be better about that. I'm gonna make you hold me accountable. Good. Just want you at some point this summer, not like the day after the national championship game. Give me a minute to recalibrate, get my head together, all right? But at some point this summer, I want you to say, GP, tell me all the museums you took your kids to this in the Memphis area over the past month or so. And if I don't have an answer for you, I want you to look down at me. Okay. With disgust in your eyes.
It, bro.
If I don't have a good answer for you, I want you to look at me with disgust in your eyes. All right. Okay. Congrats to John Doyle and everybody at the Rocket Soul Museum. That's a cool thing. I'm happy for you. Cool. Happy for the city, happy for your father, happy for everybody involved. Be back with GP's Carryout.
Grizzlies fans, dunks, dimes, and no looks are great on TV, but nothing compares to catching them IRL. And that starts with buying tickets at Ticketmaster, the official ticket marketplace of the Memphis Grizzlies and the NBA. Ticketmaster gets you to the game so you can catch every highlight in person. From seeing your favorite Grizzly stars up close to hearing the squeak of the sneakers on the hardwood. Put that jersey collection to use and get tickets at Ticketmaster. There's no better brag than saying you saw it live. See you courtside, Memphis.
Our fans have a huge impact on our ability to play to the level that we're striving for.
Drop off, Morant. Oh! Well, you wanted home crowd involvement.
I love those moments where you see our guys engaging in the fans, and the fans just get pumped up.
They are standing in FedEx Forum.
I would hate to be on the other side with the opposition when FedEx Forum's rolling. That's such an unbelievable relationship that our group has with our fans.
Kroger shoppers and Grizz fans, one exclusive last-minute discounted ticket deals texted straight to you during the Grizzlies 2024-2025 season. Sign up with the new Kroger Buzzer Beater deal. Fans can sign up by texting Grizz to 636-479 or visit your local Kroger store in the Delta Division and scan the QR code. By signing up, you agree to receive recurring automated promotional and personalized marketing text messages from the Memphis Grizzlies. Consent is not a condition of any purchase. Message frequency varies. Message and data rates may apply.
A night of comedy with Sebastian Maniscalco and Jim Gaffigan.
Now, is this a family? Is this your mother? Where is she? Is she in the crowd? You don't know where your mom is. The mom's up there. What kind of family is this? I'm sorry.
Sebastian Maniscalco and Jim Gaffigan.
I went ziplining for the last time. What is wrong with us? Would you pay $200 to feel like you're about to die 6 times?
Live in Memphis, FedEx Forum, Friday, February 21st. Get tickets now at livenation.com.
Thanks for showing up, Memphis. Nothing beats catching your Grizzlies IRL, and nobody knows that better than you. So next time you want to hit up a game, Ticketmaster's got your back with tickets to every upcoming matchup. Whether you're catching the Grizzlies at home or on the road, you'll find tickets at Ticketmaster, the official ticket marketplace of the Memphis Grizzlies and the NBA. Keep putting that jersey collection to use and get Grizzlies tickets today. There's no better brag than saying you saw it live. See you courtside again soon, Memphis.
Parrish Show presented by Ortho South. Let's wrap this up with GP's Carryout.
It's time for GP's Carryout. One final segment filled with stuff to take with you. It's not everything you need to know, but it's most of it. What did we learn today?
A whole bunch of stuff, but let me hit you with another story that we didn't touch on today. When I'm traveling, I'm constantly just, seeing stuff And then I'll bookmark it. I'll be like, this would be interesting for 5 more things. Or maybe it won't, but it's something we could talk about. And then sometimes, Bennett, I just forget what I bookmarked, right?
Yeah.
And then I look up and I go, oh, man, I forgot about that. And so I just stumbled into one of my bookmarks from yesterday's flight home. Did you see where Delta, you saw where the plane flipped over in Toronto the other day, right?
Yes, I did see that.
You see Delta is offering every passenger on that plane, you see what they're offering? $30,000. Now, to be clear, it's not like $30,000 and then sign away all your rights to take it somewhere else. Because sometimes, like I think this was a point we joked about Landman on Paramount Plus.
Yeah.
But there's a big explosion at like an oil thing. And immediately the oil company is offering $250,000 to these families. But also trying to get them to sign agreements and then we're done here. You take this $250,000, we'll give it to you right now. But if you take it, you have to sign this, and it says then we're done here. You can't sue us again. You can't come back and ask for more. This matter is resolved. And the families are like, but my husband's dead. And they're like, oh, you don't have to take the $250,000.
Right.
You can take nothing, and then you can sue us, and then we'll fight you forever. And we got the best lawyers and lots of money, and so you could win more, but you might go broke. You might lose your house trying to fight us in court. It might be 7 years before you get anything. And then they're like, all right, just give me the $250,000, right? That did just bully you into taking it. This isn't that. Because clearly, if Delta said, here's $30,000, let's call it a day, you'd be like, no way, buddy.
No, sir.
I'll talk to a lawyer first.
Right.
But Delta, the way this is explained is they just say, here's $30,000 just because our plane flipped over. And, you forfeit no rights. Whatever lawsuit you're going to file down the road, you can still file. Here's just $30,000 right now. So there is no question of whether you would accept it. It's just free $30,000 with no strings attached, at least reportedly. Here's my question for you. If you're boarding a flight, let's just say to Peru today. I know how much you like Peru.
Sounds fun.
And I could tell you this, Bennett, you're going to live. And you will not be seriously injured. But you might have to go to the hospital. I can't tell you any more than what I just told you. You will live. And you will not be seriously injured, like long-term injured. But you will have to experience a flight flip over on the runway today upon landing and be evacuated from an upside-down plane. And if you're willing to go through that experience, I will give you $30,000 when it's done. Would you be willing to do it for $30,000?
Yes.
I think once I tell you you're going to live and not be seriously long-term injured, it's like, all right, well, then it's just going to be a wild deal that I got to deal with for $30,000, right?
Yeah. And then you have something to talk about for the rest of your life.
And then you have a story.
Yeah. I was on a plane that flipped over. I want to see the video. It's on YouTube. Yeah.
I think you do have to.
I do it.
Okay, now, what if it's this? It's $3 million. The plane will flip over. There's 80 people on it. 70 will survive, 10 will die. Can't tell you who.
Oh.
You willing to be on it?
God, that's like Russian roulette.
70 people are going to live, 10 are going to die. I can't tell you which one are you. But you will either die or get $3 million. That's what I'm telling you.
I think that's a no for me. I'm not playing that game. I don't think I'm playing that game.
Okay. It's $30 million. 80 people on the plane. 60 will live, 20 will die. But it's $30 million. Here's the truth. $3 million ain't going to change your life that much. I mean, $3 million is great. I don't mean to.
Yeah.
But like $3 million. Yeah. Once you got taxes, once you buy a house.
Right.
You just living in a nice neighborhood.
That's it.
But that's about all you got. $30 million, that's a different deal. You can do what you want to do with $30 million. $3 million don't go as long as it used to go. $30 million now we talking. $30 million. But of the 80 people on the plane, one of which would be you, 60 will live, 20 will die. You will either be in the 60 with $30 million or the 20, You gone, baby, gone.
I'm going to say no, too, because, like, Xavier makes a good point. The PTSD ain't worth it. And the thing is like, okay, if you're filthy rich, like, what's one thing that you want to do with all your money? You want to, like, travel and go do, like, cool things all over the world. Well, I'm going to be scared to fly. I'll be scared to fly for the rest of my life. So, like, you know, I guess you could just buy, like, a huge mansion and, like, a lot of land and live there and enjoy that. But I don't know, man.
I think the answer's no.
I think the answer's no.
Because think about it this way.
No.
First off, if we're doing 60 live, 20 die, it's like a quarter chance you're going to die.
Yeah, dude.
And even if you live, you watch 20 people die.
That's it. Yeah. What does that look like? You know, I don't want to see that.
I don't want to see that.
No, I don't want to see that.
I think I just pass. I think I just
I'm gonna
say,
pass.
I think I just say, you know what,
Damn.
my life's okay. I don't, I'd love to have the 30 million, but I don't need it. I don't need it.
Yeah, I can't leave my family behind. If I was a single man, maybe I'd consider it. If I was a single man, I might risk it.
I think you'd minimize the risk, then I can just play the odds. But 60-20 ain't good enough for me.
60-20 is scary.
I think. Anyway, you can read all about it. I don't even know what we're talking about. It's everywhere. Just Google that. Just whatever. Who cares?
What's today's biggest game?
I think it's Four Nations.
Okay.
It's the Four Nations face-off. It's the Four Nations face-off. We're doing it at TD Garden in Boston, 7 o'clock. Puck drops on the ESPN. It's Canada -110, USA -110. Bennett, where's your heart? Where's your heart? Do you feel a little Canadian today? You feel a little American today?
I always cheer for the U.S. I'm Team USA till I die. Something inside of me is telling me Canada's winning this.
If you were Team USA, wouldn't you at least try to hire Kendrick Lamar to show up?
Yes. Canada, yes, I would. Canada does.
What if Kendrick Lamar was on the ice doing Not Like Us tonight, right before the puck drop?
But he's not. So,
But that song will be played tonight in that arena.
Yeah,
100%.
It absolutely will.
100%.
It pains me to say it. I'm gonna go Canada. I think they're gonna win. Something's telling me they got the best player in the world, Connor McDavid. I'm gonna say Canada wins. I know. It's something in my guts. I didn't follow my gut last night.
Does your January 6th group texters know about this?
No, because here's the thing, dude. I didn't follow my gut yesterday with the freaking Charlotte Hornets, who just straight up beat the Lakers. And that's what I said. If you remember yesterday, I was like, for some reason, I'm leaning the Hornets. And then I changed it. And I was like, nah, I'll go
Did you
Lakers.
change it? Because I gave you credit for the Hornets. I forgot you changed it.
I think I changed it.
I'll have to check the tape.
Yeah, let's check the tape.
I'll check the tape. But in my records, I gave you a win.
You gave me credit?
Yeah, but
maybe I stuck with the Hornets.
I will check the tape.
Check the tape. Check the tape.
I'm going to have to check the tape.
Okay. I don't know, dude. I just something inside of me is telling me Canada's winning this. I don't know. I don't want it. I'm Team USA, baby. USA.
It
Let's
doesn't
go.
sound like it, man.
No.
You've come a long way since January 6th.
No, dude.
I remember when you were willing to fight for what you thought was right, even if it was way wrong.
Dude, I'm cheering for Team USA.
Doesn't
Red,
sound
white,
like
and blue.
It does
tonight.
not sound like you keep saying it, but you're not showing it. You're saying it, but you're not showing it. You're saying it, but you're not showing it. You know what you like? You're like that person who walks in the front door every day and says, "Hey, I love you," but you're not showing it. You're saying it, but you're not showing it. Show it.
I can't. I think Canada.
You're not showing it. You're saying it.
I think Canada's gonna win, and that's my pick.
Then why don't you just move there? Why don't you just move there? We'll put a tariff on you.
Maybe I will.
Maybe we'll put a tariff on you.
Yeah, maybe I will. No, I'm going Canada. Sorry.
Maybe we'll put a tariff on you, Bennett.
Hopefully I'll eat my words tomorrow, you know?
It's all fun and games up until I slap a tariff on you, Bennett. If you want to be Canadian so bad, I see you with your little toboggans.
I don't want to be Canadian. I don't want to be Canadian. Like it. I love the U.S. I love my country, but something inside of me is telling me they're not winning this.
He's saying it, but he's not showing it.
Yeah.
He's saying it, but he's not showing it. He's got a big mouth on him. But he ain't the best at showing it all the times. We'll see.
Yeah, we're going to see.
Bennett says take Canada -110. You want to sing "O Canada" or something? What do you want to do now?
Does that not tell you something?
You want to sing "O Canada"? Why don't you just sing "O Canada"?
The game is on U.S. soil and played in Boston. That's about as American as it gets, and it's even. Doesn't that tell you something?
The only something I'm being told right now is that somebody has lost his love for his country. Do you want to sing "O Canada"? Sing "O Canada" if you want to.
I don't know the words.
I don't either.
It's a great national anthem, though.
I think it starts with "O Canada."
Oh, Canada.
That sounds like okay, man. I see.
I don't know the word. I don't know the rest.
I should have seen this coming when you was fantasizing about Dylan Brooks all those years. I should have seen this coming.
I am a fan.
It's starting to all add up and make sense. Now I'm starting to see a clearer picture. Things are starting to crystallize for me over here. I might have been out of town too long. Lost sight of you.
Yeah.
Now that I'm sitting right back in the same room with you, I'm starting to see things a little clearer these days.
Yeah.
Somebody wants to be Canadian. Never could have told me this was going to be where we ended up, with you begging to be Canadian. I'm still going to ride with America.
Okay.
I'm still going to take pride in my country. I don't have to agree with everything my country is doing to have pride in my country. So I'll put on the red, white, and blue tonight.
Mm-hmm. By the way, can I say, since we've been doing these comparisons with the NBA All-Star and stuff like that, and we just mentioned that Lakers Hornets game yesterday, that's another problem, dude.
What's the problem?
Why can I not watch that game? That game was the only NBA game on last night. Lakers Hornets. It's Luka and LeBron. LaMelo Ball's on the other side. That's a fun game. I think a lot of casuals would want to watch that game. Why can't we watch it? Why can't we watch it?
Was it not available on League Pass?
Okay, it was available on League Pass.
Okay. I think the answer would be this. It was a makeup game.
I know it was. I'm just saying, dude, you knew that was going to happen coming out of All-Star. I'm trying to figure out a way to get, every casual fan the ability, that should have been on ESPN or TNT or NBA TV or something like that. People should have access to that. Easier than being a League Pass subscriber, because that's for diehards.
I think ESPN and TNT would tell you we already had programming.
They flexed for the Lakers game where Luka didn't even play in it.
But it's easier to flex in and out of games as opposed to flex into just whatever was on TNT last night. I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm just saying it's probably, you ready? Probably not as difficult as I'm making it sound, but not as easy as you're making it sound. Although the NBA TV thing was just right there.
It's right there. They were showing a replay of the All-Star game.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
The irony.
I don't know.
I'm just
But you are right in the sense that there was one NBA game on last night.
I was going to watch that last night.
Right.
I don't have League Pass. I was going to watch that last night at 7 o'clock. I flipped on my TV. I was like, all right, let me turn on this Lakers Hornets game. Can't find it.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. I'm sorry you had to go through that.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
What are we watching on TV?
Hey, let me tell you what I did on my flight home yesterday.
What'd you do?
I finished the Gabby Petito documentary on Netflix.
How was it? Did you learn anything?
Did I learn anything? Yeah, I did.
You did?
Yeah, I there are things in there that I did not know. One is that Brian Laundrie, the murderer, called his parents from Utah 2 days after the day it is believed that he strangled Gabby to death and left her body. And he's on the phone with his parents for about an hour. And when that phone call ends, his father immediately calls a defense attorney. I don't know if I knew that.
Yeah. I saw the clip. I haven't watched it yet, but I saw the clip of the police coming to their door, his parents.
Yeah.
And they're like, that's all I'm going to say.
We're not talking.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's weird. This has been a point of criticism within the documentary for obvious reasons, because the parents did not cooperate. And there was a time where we didn't know where Gabby was. All of the police stuff has been questioned and criticized, but you watch it and it's like, I don't know that they got everything right, but you can kind of see how they got where they got. So the whole thing starts, I'll just talk you through it. The whole thing starts with the traffic stop where they were stopped because a 911 caller said, I saw a guy hit a girl.
Yeah.
And so they pull him over and she's crying. She's hysterical and he's pretty calm. And he's like, listen, sometimes she gets a little worked up and I'm just trying to calm her down. And they're like, somebody said you hit her. He's like, no, she's hitting me. I'm trying to calm her down. I'm trying to calm her down. And so they talk to her and she's like, he locked me out of the car until he said I needed to calm down. And he's over here saying, I told her she needs to calm down. And she's like, I'm sorry, I get worked up sometimes. And he's like, yeah, she gets worked up. So their stories kind of align. And the police sort of conclude that she's the one causing the problem here.
Yeah.
And she doesn't even really deny that. Now, of course, there's this whole battered woman syndrome stuff where she's covering for her man and the love of her life. But when you watch the body cam videos, the stories are pretty... It sounds like she's the one that caused this fight.
Yep.
Now, what other people have said is, okay, let's apply common sense. This is a big guy, and she weighs 110 pounds. So even if she is causing fights, she is no threat to him. So what are we doing? But the big point of contention is, like, how did the cops just let them go? And they put him in a hotel, and they let her have the van. And it seems like they were kind of maybe just following protocol. They're even talking about it. Like, the officers amongst themselves, they're like, what are we supposed to do? Like, he says she's the aggressor. She says she's the aggressor. But then one officer does say, I'd rather make a bad call that saves somebody's life than not. And it was just sort of, but you see them struggle with this, and they might have made the wrong decision, but you can understand how they got to that place. Then there's the other point of contention, or at least one of them, is like, there's a point where it's clear Gabby's missing. It's clear Brian's back at his parents' home. The police want to talk to him, and the parents are preventing that from happening. So there's 2 points of criticism here. One is, what are the parents covering for their son for?
Right.
And the other one is, well, why can't the cops just go get the subpoena and bring him in? Well, without the body, they can't really prove that anything's happened yet.
Yep.
So they can't make him a suspect until they have a body. And by the time they had a body, he was already out in the woods, killed himself. So there's a lot of criticism, but if you watch it, it's like, all right, they should have done that differently, but I get what happened. I sort of see what happened. And more than that, it's just sad. It's just sad. And also, you can't, at least I couldn't help but recognize this as I was watching it. It's 3 parts. They're all about 40 to 50 minutes. It's a very easy watch in the sense that it's easy to get through, but it's uncomfortable in the sense. There's a lot of video of them because they were making a video blog.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Like, typically with these things, like you watch the OJ documentary, there's not a lot of video of Nicole Brown Simpson out there. You don't hear a lot of Nicole Brown Simpson. I mean, Gabby's talking the whole time in this, and they use AI. She had kept like a journal, like notes, and they do use AI to bring her voice back to life. And I gather not everybody liked that because you hear her voice reading these things, and it's like, oh, this is her talking. It's not. It's AI. And yeah, that's a little. It didn't bother.
Weird, yeah.
It didn't bother me, but it clearly has bothered some other people based on Google searches, right? So you just sort of. This is the #1 show on Netflix now for, I believe, 3 straight days. It's been seen by millions and millions of people. And there's nothing remarkable about these 2 people. There's no, at least when you're watching the OJ documentaries, you're like, now why do I care about this crime? Well, this was one of the most famous former athletes in the world. And he happened to allegedly murder his ex-wife. And there's at least a hook to it. These are just 2 people. They could have lived next door to you or me. They're just 2 people. We shouldn't even know who they are. The only reason we know who they are is because one of them killed the other. And then, by extension, and this is addressed in the documentary as well, the only reason we know who they are, you ready? It's because she's a pretty blonde white girl. As they point out in the documentary, there are thousands of missing women who just were with some guy or with somebody, and now nobody knows where they are, and you've never seen them, you've never heard about them. And that's because they don't look like Gabby Petito, right? She was a cute, young, blonde, white woman, and the nation attached to this. And they even talked to her father about it. And he's like, the first time I heard somebody say that, it really bothered me. And then you start learning, and it's like, well, they're right. I hate to hear people say, the only reason we even know your daughter is because she was pretty and blonde. But it's true. That is the only reason you know her, is because she was pretty and blonde. And so the nation attached to this, and it became a big story that is now the #1 documentary in the world on Netflix right now. It might just be tough for some people to watch because it's just sad. It's this, by all accounts, sweet little young woman. And she's in love, and the man she's in love with killed her, murdered her. And I had another friend of mine who watched it said, because there's a lot of video of him, and it's like, but he doesn't seem like a monster. And there's never a time on camera where it seems like he's capable of this kind of thing. And it just shows you he was very aware of when the cameras are on, you're performing, and when they're not, you're a monster by all accounts. So I don't know. We all lived through that not too long ago.
Yeah.
Sort of watched it get solved in real time. And so this takes you back through the entire case from start to finish. And it does add things that even as somebody who followed it on a daily basis, either I didn't know or I had forgotten.
Yeah.
I found it to be, I don't know if enjoyable is the right word, but you get the point. I was not bored. I found it interesting.
Cool.
It's on Netflix right now, 3 parts.
What's the best thing we've read?
I updated the top 25 and 1 over at CBSSports.com this morning about St. John's. Once again, choking.
Get it out, man. Get it out.
I've had flu-like symptoms for 2 straight weeks.
I've noticed that.
2 straight weeks. St. John's won at DePaul last night by double digits. No big deal. But they've now won 14 Big East games, and their next win will be the most they've ever had in the Big East since 1985. And they've never won 16 games in their league, and that's probably going to happen next Wednesday night against Butler. So Rick Pitino in year 2 is quite literally continuing to do things at St. John's that have not been done in the past 40 years. It is remarkable the way he has built that so quickly into a legitimate Final Four contender. He has taken Providence to the Final Four, Kentucky to the Final Four, Louisville to the Final Four. The only 2 men who have ever taken 3 schools to the Final Four, Rick Pitino and John Calipari, UMass, Memphis, and Kentucky. Rick's got a chance to take a 4th. Nobody's ever done it, but this St. John's team is good enough, especially defensively. You can read about it, CBSSports.com.
What's on tap for tomorrow?
Tomorrow's Friday.
Yes.
Jessica Benson, she'll sit right there in that chair, so we'll chop it up with her. We will look back at Grizzlies-Pacers. Were you scrambling through your phone so frantically?
Someone just said something in the chat. Oh my goodness, massive breaking news. Spurs announced that Victor Wembanyama will miss the rest of the regular season. He's been diagnosed with deep vein thrombosis in his right shoulder. Wow.
Well, that stinks.
That's brutal.
Yeah. I mean, you watch that Court of Gold on Netflix, and he's one of the stars of it. I mean, they spend a lot of time on Wemby for obvious reasons. Well, you don't ever like to see one of the young stars go down like that.
Yeah, that's rough.
That's rough.
That's rough.
That's rough. So maybe we'll talk to Jessica Benson about that tomorrow.
Okay, sounds good.
We'll look back at Grizz-Pacers. Get ready for Grizz Magic. Should be a fun show. I'm looking forward to it already. Enjoy the rest of your day. I'll enjoy mine. Meet back here tomorrow at 10. Till then, be careful, be kind, be good. Rep your hood.